Hello, everyone. I'm Donna Bush. Welcome to today's press briefing being held with the Right Honorable Grant Shapps, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office Acting Minister for the Overseas Territories, as well as Her Excellency Governor Helen Kilpatrick and our Premier, Mr. Alden McLaughlin, the Honorable Alden McLaughlin. We'll begin with a brief statement by the Acting Minister, followed by a Q&A with the press. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I was just learning who you all are and who you represent. It's great to be here, and I'm delighted, actually, as I was just explaining to Premier McLaughlin, to be back in Cayman Islands, because I had visited on one previous occasion, coming in the other way via ship rather than the airport. But it is fantastic to visit, as was just mentioned. I'm acting in this role temporarily because my colleague has been off long-term ill. I don't know how long I'll be in the post. But I just wanted to remark that with my responsibilities for the overseas territories, this is the first place that I've come to Cayman Islands, and not by accident. I think we do feel that in many ways you lead in lots of directions, and the Cayman Islands is an excellent example of a well-run, efficient administration, a government that gets on with doing business. And in that context, we just had an excellent discussion for the past 45 minutes. We've covered a wide range of different topics of mutual interest, and very much along the lines of what you saw in that white paper, that kind of grown-up, progressive relationship between United Kingdom and the overseas territories, which views the relationship as an equal partnership where there are many issues that we can work on together. And so I thank you very much for that, Premier. I thought it was very interesting, worthwhile. We covered, as I say, a lot of different topics. I congratulated the Premier on the budget that's been presented, and the excellent public finance and the management of that public finance as well, which I think is very, very good news. We also talked about other issues of joint interest. You'll all be familiar with tax transparency, the importance which the United Kingdom attaches to this, the Prime Minister, David Cameron in particular. And again, Cayman actually really leads the way. We've got this exchange set up. That's working extremely well. We also discussed the issues of beneficial ownership, and again, great progress being made, and just in terms of the way that can be put in place quickly and efficiently. As you'll be aware, the United Kingdom's kind of ahead of the rest of the world, and the EU in particular, in implementation of that, and we're keen that Cayman is in the front line as well. And I think there's a lot of great work being done. We just talked about some further cooperation to finish that off and make that all possible in as quick a way as possible. But other than that, I really was here just to stress the importance with which we attach the United Kingdom to the Cayman Islands, the impressive growth over the years, and the changes, which I know can be challenging. They are, wherever they take place. In the United Kingdom, changes are often very challenging. We're a government who are just a few months into a new 5-year period, so we experience many similarities between the challenges that we experience and you do as an economy grows. But having great financial management, having a really good first-class approach to public finance and administration is really important to that. And so I'm here to, thank everybody for the work that's been done, to mention how pleased we are to have the joint ministerial group meeting in November in London, and to answer 1 or 2 questions along the way.
Okay, now we're going to open the floor for a question. 1 question per media house, if that, please.
Good morning, Mona Lisa Tatum, Cayman 27 News. I just have 1 question for you. How can us, as the Cayman Islands and the UK, partner to combat tax evasion and corruption in our financial industry, or both industries as that, given our differing positions on the beneficial ownership?
Well, look, first of all, I think where we don't have any difference in opinion at all is on the importance between the UK and the Cayman Islands of rooting out malpractice and corruption. And I think we absolutely agreed about it. Now, in terms of beneficial ownership, the principle is really straightforward. There needs to be, certainly for law enforcement agencies, different bodies, the ability to find out who owns what in a transparent way. And not only that, for that information to be quickly and efficiently available. So a single request can go in and the information can be provided. And actually, on that basis, we're entirely agreed. We think there's a way forward to providing exactly that. There's probably some technical work to do. We talked about enhancing that technical cooperation, but the Premier's actually been able to reassure me that we're on track and it's going to be something which happens to a timetable which is, I think, agreeable always round. So I think the important thing with this, as with so many things, is agreeing what the objective is. Precisely how we get to that is a technical issue, but I don't detect any barriers in the way to achieving that. And again, I congratulate the administration and the government for the work that it's doing to achieve it. And there's more than one way to skin a cat. And this is it means it needs to just work with the systems which are being developed here. And I'm absolutely assured that that's where we're going to get to.
I don't want to impinge too much on the minister's time because he has very limited time with the media. But I just want to endorse what he said from the Cayman perspective. Is the issue for us has never been about transparency and the willingness to provide this information. The issue was about whether or not we should establish a central registry. And the UK has now, or not just now, more recently moved to the position where another effective mechanism other than a central registry which allows the exchange of the information is what they're really interested in. And we're in a position where we should be able to present to the UK a plan with respect to that at the JMC in November.
Next.
Thank you. Wendy from Cayman News Service. I'd just like to ask you with regards to public finances and as the UK still has a reign on the public purse, have you got any views at the moment about the government's progress towards a massive cruise port development project, which will obviously be very costly? Can you tell us what you think about that?
Well, look, essentially, I think that's an issue for Cayman Island and people and government. If you're asking for my generic view about economic development, the thing that we've found in the United Kingdom is you don't get anywhere in this fast-moving world where you've got competitors all around you by standing still. And I would say that from the point of view of cruise ships, as I mentioned, I've come in on a tender here previously. Then you'll be looking around, seeing what the competitors are doing and whether it's sustainable not to have something which enables the larger ships being built to come here. Again, it's a question for you guys as to whether you want cruise ships and the visitors coming in or not. But whatever happens, it's important that environmental considerations, concerns are taken into account, that it's done properly, that there's a proper process followed. And I know from our discussions that's exactly what's happening here. So it's a proper, thought-out process where environmental considerations are taken into account. But if you're asking my overall view, if you stand still in the world, you move backwards. That's my overall view.
And we have time for one more question.
Gentleman and lady, there have been some issues over the past several months here, generally regarding human rights. I don't know if the minister is familiar with some of the debate that's gone on around the civil union issue and also some issues with freedom of the press, freedom of expression. Does the UK have any view, if it's aware of what's transpired here, about whether Cayman is doing a good job with its human rights, freedom of expression issues? Is it doing a bad job? Is the UK concerned about anything that's gone on here the last few months?
Well, look, the fact you're all in this room asking that kind of question indicates to me that there's probably not much of a clampdown on anything that you can ask. I think that's reassuring in itself. So, no, I don't think the UK government's got any concerns about the freedom and openness. And then obviously debates, particularly things like civil unions, rage. We went through in the last parliament in the United Kingdom the issue of we'd already had civil unions. So for us, it was the issue of same-sex marriage. And I can tell you as a constituency MP, in fact, as the chairman of the Conservative Party, it was pretty controversial at the time. What's interesting, by the way, just as a reflection, is that 2 or 3 years later, it's much, much less controversial. and even people who were writing to me at the time to express their concern have subsequently, some have contacted me and said they're far less concerned now it's gone through. Again, this is an issue for the Cayman Islands, but the British government's view is quite simple. We believe that kind of freedom and liberty means that people should be able to get on with their lives, and when it comes to civil liberties, we think that it's best not to prescribe some groups with civil liberties and not others. But I'm not seeking to intervene in domestic lawmaking. The British government's view is clear, and we have for many, many years had civil partnerships, and as I say, more recently, gay marriage as well.
Okay, unless the Right Honourable Shapps or our Premier or Her Excellency has anything further to say, this press briefing is now ended. We thank all the members of the press for being here with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks very much.
Thank you.